Hello everyone, welcome to another race analysis video with Mo Allen. In this race, I am racing the Zwift Epic Race on the Makuri Pretzel route. This is an all category route. Zwift racing score is 0 to 1000. I'm currently, as you just saw, Zwift racing score 499. This route is 78 kilometers with 620 meters of elevation. It's interesting. The recon for this route, my recon for this route, was to read the Zwift Insider route description, and they mentioned in there that it's far from flat, yet it manages to avoid all of the KOM segments in the Makuri world, which is interesting. I didn't realize, again, I'm just realizing now that I need to start watching the ride-along videos in addition to reading the route description. I did that once, and it was really helpful. I did not do that with this race. But I want to start doing that. I did not realize where all the climbs would be or how many there would be. It was a lot less flat than I realized. And to make matters worse for me, the group that I was with, that I eventually settled in with, they attacked on every single climb, which was interesting. Good to have ridden this and have that experience, but it was very taxing, especially over this kind of distance. So here we go at the start of the race. There are a little over 90 riders to start, I believe. Again, this being an all-category race, you don't know what the racing score, the abilities are of the other riders. At least I didn't. There are ways to know, but I didn't do any recon on any of the riders in the race. My strategy is always just to try to stay with the front group. With this distance and it being an all category, I am not going to stay with the group if they're pushing way too hard, too early, at any one point, likely on any of the climbs. So I'll assess my effort and where I am when the group is pushing and see whether or not it's worth it to sustain that effort and try to stay with them, or just let them go and drop back to a more suitable group. You'll see which one of those happens in a little bit here. So here we are starting. I am in the garage as always. It is cold, like very cold. I don't have a thermometer in there, but it's probably freezing in there. There's snow outside, a little bit of snow. I have my sweater on just to start here. I warmed up 20 minutes with the sweater on, and I was still cold. So just keeping the sweater on until I warm up a bit, which with this kind of start and where I settled into the group doesn't take too long. I eventually shed the extra layer. I did not turn on my fan though. That would be a little too much. So here we are with the group. I'm just trying to stay as far back as I can comfortably stay while keeping an eye on the front to try to maximize the draft benefit. Again, if any small number of riders break away, I'm definitely on this kind of route not trying to close that down myself. I'll go with the majority of the group if I can. Otherwise, I'll settle in with whatever group happens to form that seems suitable to the type of effort. So here we go with the first real test. A couple riders up the road here, and we have this short, low gradient, sort of sustained climb here. Well, short and sustained. Short, but long enough that you'll see that I decide not to put in the effort to stay with the people pushing up front. So here I'm assessing what kind of effort I would need to put in. Again, we're 15 minutes in, just 10 kilometers into the race, 66 kilometers to go here, and 68 kilometers to go. And you can see that I'm not going to try to like put in a huge effort to stay with the front. It was interesting that if you were looking at the comments earlier, the group, like large groups of riders were disappearing and then coming back. At one point, like half or like a very, very large portion of riders just appeared like in front. Like an entire group in front of our group appeared, which I'd never seen before. I'd seen like one or two riders, a small number of riders maybe clip out. I'd seen everyone else besides you disappear, but to see like half the group just appear back again is interesting. So you can see here, after that one little climb, I'm back in 40th place, and we've got another sustained climb here. I'm just trying my best to stay on the back of this group. I guess this is still the front group at this point, so I haven't lost the front at this time. There may be a couple riders up the road, but you can see me at the back of this group. And I'm not trying to get to the front. Normally, if I'm gonna try to stay with this group, I would be closer to the front. Or if I'm like really, really set on staying with the group, I would be closer to the front. But I'm just here trying to stay in the back and see if I can keep contact while also not putting in a huge effort that would burn my legs early on. So you can see the gap that forms here. Small gap, but large enough that I believe this is my last contact with that front group. So I settle in with, and here comes another little climb. So I settle in with these riders here and just try to mark them and see if they go, then I'm going to try to go with them. Interestingly, this becomes a group I ride with for a long time, some of them all the way to the end. The rider G. Cluin, was doing a lot of work at the front. I mean, just constantly at the front. Like any little incline that comes, they would go up. Not just them, but others too would go up over 4 watts a kilogram. Like even on, like if the incline went up, you know, to 2 or 3% for like 2 seconds, they would still like go up over 4 watts a kilogram just to get over it. So it was interesting. They were doing a lot of work at the front, and I tried to stay at the back while just keeping contact. So this is the group that I end up with for a long time, and this group was a spicy one, small but spicy. A lot of attacks, what I consider attacks on the climbs. I'm curious what they would call them if they were just trying to do a certain wattage on the flats and the climbs, but they were pushing. I don't know if they were trying to keep the group behind away, trying to just keep a certain amount of distance, at least to the group in front, whether or not they just had some sort of wattage targets in mind. I'm not sure, but it was interesting to observe that, you know, they were pushing in the front of this small group for so long. Not the decisions I would have made, but again, I don't exactly know why. And I think I benefited from them doing that, right? Keeping the group away, getting a good pace on the flats. You'll see at the end that for the 78 kilometers, I averaged 23 miles an hour, I think, which is pretty good, with a relatively low watts per kilogram average, especially among the other riders that finished around me, which is something that I've been working on, just trying to maximize the draft. So this is the group here. You'll see often I'll speed it up in between the climb efforts and what I call attacks, and I'll let you watch the attacks as they happen sort of in real time. But it was interesting. It was a tale of managing the attacks for sure, and I'm sure it sapped my legs. At a certain point, I was at the back of the attacks and kind of just hanging on. It was an interesting ride, this one. The end was interesting as well. After I lost some of the group and was with just one other rider, and some tactics there. So it's an interesting ride. So at this point, I'm really kind of feeling it from all these attacks that are happening. It's they're short, but they're taxing up in that Z5 range, and I'm looking over at that mini map and dreading this sort of last climb that's coming. Again, not having watched the ride along and not remembering the details specifically of the Zwift Insider route description, I didn't actually know what that climb was, like what the gradient was, where on the route it was. So I'm just, it was a little bit of, not indecision, but lack of information. And so I'm just trying to mentally prepare. I know that the group is all able to make these climbs together. So I just feel like I'm a little bit at a disadvantage with how I'm feeling, my rider weight. Again, in the beginning you would have saw it's 95 kilograms, not conducive to long climbs. These short climbs actually can suit me well because I can put out high power, but it's about recovering, and over 78 kilometers, it's a bit of a different story when there are so many of them. Or at least what I thought was so many of them. So at this point, I'm just trying to prepare, get as much draft benefit and recovery as I can, and just see if I can make it up this last little test with the entire group. So here we are starting this last climb. I know from looking at the mini map, it's basically in two parts. There's going to be a section of climbing before it flattens out. I was happy to see that it's starting out with lower gradient in the yellow here, sort of this 2 to 3% gradient. I tried to get up towards the front at the beginning of this, just trying to not have to chase from behind if the front was getting away, like too far away on the climbs. I Figured I would try that for the first time this entire race. It didn't last too long. You can see me sort of drifting back a little bit here. At this point, again, I'm thinking, okay, I'm happy that this isn't like, you know, straight up or more sustained gradient for the climb. So I'm just trying to sit in here, manage my watts. I'm definitely feeling it though. My legs were feeling it a bit, and I'm just trying to manage. I'm also curious if anyone's going to put in any attacks on these climbs. So here I'm just trying to manage the effort. So I made it up that first section of climbing with the group, and here I realize now what the last section is. It's going to be this twisting section up towards the castle, I believe, like up towards the town. So I know that there's a, as you can see in the mini map, like the gradient map above in the top center there. There's a sustained low grade, and then there's like a short sharp incline. So here I was trying to stay with these front two riders to start and just see if I could mark them and be with them at least up until that sharp section. I still didn't quite know what the rest of this climb was going to be after that sharp section. Seeing the orange come through here was mentally a little dejecting, considering how I'm feeling, so definitely had a bit of a mental weakness here once I saw what was happening after this. So I'm just trying to take it sort of section by section and see if I can match the effort of the other riders up these climbs. So here you can see immediately after that section, two riders sort of get away. Two other riders are going with them, and I'm not really able to respond. I think maybe I could have, but I'm not sure that I would have been able to stay with them putting out 6 watts a kilogram, 5 watts a kilogram. So this is where I let most of the group go. Now I see this rider with the headphones on here, Rainer, come up. And interestingly, with Rainer, I saw them messaging. So they were in the front group earlier, and I remember a message from them about going a little bit too deep. So I was like, okay, I know that they were in the front, they dropped back here, so if I need to stay with them, and that's where my race is at that point, then I have a little bit of intel on them, and maybe I could break them potentially if they were feeling it, right? If they were up front and they had to drop back. Now they could have also been up front and dropped back and have recovered, right? But in my mind, I'm thinking, all right, this is now definitely, you can see with that rider up front going away, and there's one rider 6 seconds behind us. But I'm thinking, okay, let me see what I can do with Rainer here. So I'm just trying to match them at this point and see how far I go with them. So here I notice Rainer's watts drop almost to 0, right? They're at 0.1. They do drop to 0 there. So I went down to 1 and then to 0, and I'm like, okay, maybe they're braking. So I figured, let me increase the watts here and see if I can get away from them. So I get a 7-8 meter gap on them here, and I'm trying to keep on the watts and see if they're responding. They are responding, sticking around at 7 meters. So I figured I'm going to try to keep this up unless they start coming back, which they do start coming back, putting out higher watts than I am. So I let off the gas a little bit here. And in my mind, though, I'm still considering unless that was a technical or mechanical issue they had, that maybe they're having a bit of a weakness there. So now I'm just trying to keep an eye on them and see if they have another moment there where they drop the watts momentarily, and I can kind of pull away and at least get in that 31st position there. And so here we go. I take another opportunity to try to zip past them, sort of slingshot past them, and I see that their watts go down after I pass them. So I'm like, okay, maybe this is it. And they're not putting those watts back up to catch me. I've got a 17-meter gap pretty quickly, so I'm thinking, okay, let me stay on this and see if I can break them. And sure enough, that is what happens. I had commented on their Strava activity that I made this move in the hopes that they were broken a little bit, and they confirmed that that's what it was. So it was a good read by me here. I don't know if that first part where you can see them say cruel there, I'm not sure if that was to be or not in the messaging on the rider list on the right there, but I'm not sure if that first time where I attacked them where their watts went down was a similar situation or not. But so now it's just me on an island. I've got Rainer behind. Doesn't look like they're gonna catch up. There is a rider behind them, about 9 seconds behind them, 16 seconds behind me. And so, but there is a rider 4 seconds ahead of me, which I can actually see up ahead. Daniels, 3 seconds now, so I'm catching them. So I figure, okay, let me catch them, and then that will be my new race situation. That'll be my nemesis for the end. So here with Max and Rainer 20 seconds behind, I figured I would put in a bit of a sustained effort and see if if Daniels would come with me, in the hopes that we would keep away and increase the gap to the riders behind, just so that we had some cushion there. So I put in, I think I was doing like 1 minute pulls here, so basically just a little higher effort. I think I'm gonna go to like 1:47:30, and 30 seconds was the plan here, and just see if once I let off, if Daniels would take the front and do a pull themselves. Let's see if that's what I do here. Oh, maybe on this one I decided to go to 1:48. Either way, I do. Also here, I'm just getting some of the downhill, the arrow tuck, as brief as it is. And I believe after this, I might let Daniels go in front and do some of the work, which I was happy to see that they actually, we worked well together up until the end. So here they go in front, and so I sit in behind and just try to get some draft. And we do end up taking turns here, which I was happy to see. Kudos to Daniels. I also commented on their Strava activity, so I appreciate that. They made a good move at the end, you'll see, which I applaud them for. But we do enough to keep away the riders behind. We don't catch any riders in front, spoiler alert. So this is indeed who I'm racing against at this point for 30th place. But I'll let you watch what happens. So here I am finishing sort of a weak pool, and Daniels does a good job here of just slingshotting right past me, and I am not able to respond. You can see me briefly there up at 4.8, 4.7 watts a kilogram, but I just don't have it in me to stay with them. So they timed this very, very well, read the situation well, and I am not able to respond. So they go off the front of our little two-person group here, and now it's on me to make sure that Max and Rainer, who aren't in the list right now, but they are the ones still behind, make sure I keep them away. We've got 2 kilometers to go, so I don't have a lot in me here, but I'm just trying to make sure that I at least keep the watts relatively steady, just to make sure that I'm not completely giving up here and making sure. So you can see there, Max and Rainer 41 seconds behind. They do get closer, not quite close enough to get me at the end. So at least I was able to keep them away. So there we go. That's the route done. 2 hours, 3 minutes, 49 seconds, average 2.8 watts a kilogram, 31st place, 12 minutes behind the first place. Zwift Power results here. Again, kudos to Aaron Daniels there. You will see that my Zwift racing score went up to 501. Again, interestingly, looking at the Zwift racing score as it is in the profile in the Zwift app, it isn't, and I got a route badge there from Makuri Pretel. It isn't matching what the Zwift results say, or at least it wasn't at the time that I checked both. So 501 on the race results, but 491 in the Zwift profile. So obviously not synced up there unless there's something I just don't realize about the way that's working. I know those things change over time, but I don't yet understand which one is correct or how that all works. Maybe there's some kinks they're working out, I'm not sure. You can see here I was 20 watts off my best average for about an hour and 40 minutes, I think, somewhere around there. So pretty good effort. Glad I got it done. This was done on a Saturday night at 7 p.m. So another one in the books. Finishing off a good week of riding, first week of the new year. Thank you all for watching. If you're enjoying the videos, please like, consider subscribing, leave a comment, let me know. Interested to hear what you all think, where you're riding, what you're doing on Zwift. Let me know if there's anything you think I can be doing to make these videos better. And I will talk to you all later.